and Facebook.com. What do you want to wrap it up with, Sarah?
Let's just talk quick about the Ninth Circuit, because they came down with an incredible ruling, I think that shocked most people across the country that pay attention to these things.
Let me ask you a question real quick before we get on the Ninth Circuit Court. This judge, all right, I couldn't find my report, but I know that Trump put like 3 conservatives on the Ninth Circuit Court. Do you remember that about 4 or 5 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I wonder if this guy was one of them.
Maybe one of them. The other 2 were not. And that, when this, first came up, the San Francisco judge, of course, that, brought this injunction was a Obama and or Clinton appointee. In any event, they had a 3-panel that 3 of the judges got together, and they could possibly come back and request the entire 9 judges to come back out and look at this matter. But all 3 were unanimous in their decision, stating that the migrants that are crossing up through Mexico and into the United States would now have to wait in Mexico to have their claims litigated through the legal service. And one of the main reasons is that because where they're coming from, it's not continuous of where the U.S. is. So they got to go through another country. So under UN law, they need to ask for asylum in Mexico. That's where they put their first foot down. And so in looking at through that prism, what happens then is that now these judges, they get sent out into the United States. They never come back to go to their court dates. But when they go, if they do go to the court date, more than 90% of them are turned down, and their asylum requests are, denied, and they have to go back to their home country. So that's why you're seeing these people wanting to cross the border, because then they disappear, they never show up, and then of course they have 6 kids later. You can't send me home, I've got my kids, and I know your listeners here know the story on that. So this is significant that the President Trump again wins in the courts. It's got to go through the courts. He wins in the courts as well. And, they're hoping that this decision will slow down the flow of these migrants, because they're not going to be able to come to the United States and be released. And you're seeing members of Congress start to work more with the president to start changing some of the loopholes that the migrants are using, and figure out who's giving them the money to make the trek up to come into our country, because they just certainly don't have $8,000 per person to make their way up to America, because if they did, they'd be staying in their own country.
Over the weekend, Kimberly, the story came out about the overcrowding, especially in the lower Rio Grande Valley of South Texas. So they're now using airplanes, not to bring them, into Albuquerque or Chicago, but to send them to another port of entry, which is good. But it's the first time they said they've ever become this drastic, dire straits or whatever,
And just one other quick thing here before we go. They're also having issues in Mexico. There have been several large detention breaks from these migrants that have been arrested in Mexico for unlawfully entering Mexico, and they put them in these detention facilities as well. And there have been several prison breakouts, and so they've fled and overrun the law enforcement in Mexico. So it just, when you look at the bigger picture, there's a lot more going on than people are actually letting on the mainstream media.
I'll tell you what, you're giving them part of the bigger picture. Kimberly Dvorak, D-V-O-R-A-K, and it's thekdreport.com. We'll do it again next week. Thank you very much, lady. I appreciate it.
Thank you.